Story 1. I lost my dog a few weeks ago, lost my job a few days later, and now I might lose my house. But life goes on. Story 2. My partner of 16 months left me 11 days ago. He is already in another relationship and telling her he loves her. He was speaking to her before we broke up and technically didn't end our relationship until their first date was over that night. It genuinely feels like a sick joke. Story 3. I'm facing stage 4 cancer. However, returning to you, losing someone to murder is exceptionally difficult to overcome. It is not a natural death. It creates a tear in reality that is almost impossible to surpass. Shouldn't have happened. That being said, I wish you peace and encourage you to keep her alive in memories and conversation. Much love to you. Story 4. I broke up with my boyfriend about a month and a half ago and am still grieving over it. It was the right decision, but when someone has been so important to you for 5 years and suddenly isn't in your life anymore, it takes a toll. Story 5. I have been diagnosed with Graves' disease, which has made it difficult for me to walk even short distances. I have to terminate my pregnancy on Friday due to this condition. I have also experienced conflicts with my siblings as my stress levels have increased. My partner truly cares for me, but I am uncertain about our future. I am feeling very sad and considering leaving this life altogether. Story 6. I am a federal employee on probation until the end of July. We are extremely understaffed, and I now do the work of 2 or 3 employees. I may end up being laid off and will lose my only source of income, forcing me to start a job search in a market that is already limited in my small town. I am constantly stressed and feel both angry and sad. I see many people around me facing the same issues, and we are all struggling. I am very tired. Story 7. I have been in a career I dislike for 6 years. 3 years ago, it resulted in my hospitalization, and 2 years ago, it led to a suicide attempt. I am still doing the same work. I have tried to find other employment, but I cannot, and I do not know what to do. Story 8. My daughter's traumatic brain injury recovery has been challenging. She took a farming irrigation pipe to the face when it rolled and smashed into my car. Poor thing is mid-verbal with Asperger's, so she doesn't know how to communicate her pain or understand why we need medication all the time. She's confused and anxious while dealing with her recovery. The only thing keeping me from total despair is her positive attitude and speedy improvement. It's a long road, but the overwhelm is easing. Story 9. This is a good example that no matter how big your problems are, someone else is going through something worse. Story 10. Unexplained infertility. To think that this may be completely untreatable for the rest of my life is really difficult. Story 11. Recovering from major bowel surgery is going well now, but it was a rocky start. I am facing going back to work next week, but I am worried I won't be able to keep up with it. Story 12. Being self-aware and mentally engaged is overwhelming. I feel kind of empty every day, to be honest, no matter how much I try to fill my cup. I have nothing to look forward to, and I think I have been in survival mode just to keep going. Story 13. My mother died suddenly at the end of March. Dealing with the job search while experiencing intense grief is devastating. Story 14. My best friend of 10 years died on Thursday. What hurts more is that I might miss going to her funeral tomorrow because I am financially struggling. It hurts and keeps me up at night. I feel like I have failed her in every sense of the word. Story 15. My dog passed away less than a month ago. I miss his little face, and continuing life without his presence has been much more difficult than I ever expected. Story 16. Mine feels really minor in comparison to some that I have seen on this thread, but this is my experience. I am a large man in my mid-40s. I stand 6 feet 3 inches, 1.9 meters, tall, and a month ago I weighed 22.5 stone, 143 kilograms. I've always been big. In my 20s, I weighed 26 stone, 165 kilograms. I went on a crash diet and dropped about 6 stone, 38 kilograms, and it was relatively easy. I just stopped drinking alcohol and the weight fell off. I got down to my current weight and was able to buy clothes in regular high street stores. I was happy enough, so I settled at that weight. I turned 45 this year and had a sudden realization that you don't see many very overweight elderly people, and I am running out of time to do anything about it. So I went back on a diet and it started well. I dropped about 14 kilograms in the first month, but my weight loss has really slowed down. I am greedy and love unhealthy food. You don't sit over 20 stone unless you are eating the wrong food. I've made the change to avoid all bad food. I won't even allow it in the house, but I'm struggling to lose weight. I lose a kilogram one week and gain it back the next. I've always had a morbid mindset, and I'm pretty much convinced my weight will probably kill me earlier than it should. Sounds petty, but I know it's a journey and a process. If I keep doing the right things, I will lose the weight, but I'm getting frustrated and overwhelmed by what I feel is a self-induced failure. I want to add that I know this isn't as heavy as some of the heart-wrenching things I've read on this thread, but it got me thinking and made me want to express my concerns. Story 17. Navigating my 12-year-old gender identity crisis and admissions of suicidal thoughts. Counselors, medications for bipolar disorder, psychiatrists, and school counselors. It's overwhelming. Story 18. I hurt my back at home and received some restrictions from my doctor for the week. Instead of accommodating my restrictions, my job decided that I cannot work for the rest of the week. I have to use all of my sick leave. Worrying about money and the fear of this happening again or not getting better is extremely overwhelming. Story 19. Hernia operation. My scrotum is the size of a speed bag used by boxers. It has only been 5 days since the surgery, but it is shrinking. Story 20. My parents are of advanced age, and while both are very active and healthy, I am concerned about them. My grandmother passed away recently, which makes me think about mortality. Story 21. An awakening is not about running away from trauma. It's about facing it. The rose-colored glasses are off. With some perimenopause added in, I feel like a feral, emotional, zero-tolerance, spiritual, healing, trigger-happy mess. Story 22. A lot of the people and some of the animals I care about have died over the last 3 years or so. Some were old, some got sick, and a few were murdered. I have 2 people left and a bookcase with urns and memorial photos on every shelf. The mental cost is overwhelming, and the actual cost of the funerals and cremations has depleted most of my money. I lost my job because I couldn't keep it together, and every job I've tried to get since then hasn't worked out because I don't care enough to make an impression or be productive. This makes me hate myself. I used to be proud of how hard I worked. I don't have the time to get the kind of help I need. My little sister and my mom depend on me, which adds pressure to find a good job quickly. But for some reason, this makes me less interested in job searching. Everything in my house is breaking or falling apart. I just had to replace the air conditioning and get some plumbing work done, and I have a long list of repairs that need to be made. We don't have any food in the house, and I need to go to the store, but I have 0 clean clothes. As of last week, my washer and dryer broke, so I have to hand wash some clothes and wait for them to dry. I am in a headspace where there are no good or bad days. It just continues. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I'm tired. Story 23. Divorced. My ex-wife has been alienating my daughters from me since I moved in with someone new. I am far from perfect, but being a father is one of the few things I believed I was good at. They do not want to see me. Story 24. I lost my husband in October to leukemia, and now my mother has colon cancer. Turns out I'm the only one who can't take her to all the appointments. Can you experience post-traumatic stress disorder when you aren't even the patient? Story 25. Increased stress at work due to high turnover, new regulations, first pregnancy, and noise disturbances. Any tips are appreciated. Story 26. Hunger is a challenge. I am really struggling financially, but I keep reminding myself that this is just a passing cloud. At least I am healthy. Story 27. I have long COVID at 16 and have to go to school every day. I experience anxiety and depression because no one in my family takes it seriously. They have never had it and do not understand what it is like. Long COVID makes me feel dizzy, fatigued, have brain fog, and overthink. I have lost all my friends because of it. I used to be very extroverted and had many friends, but now I am introverted and anxious because long COVID affects my mental state. I want to end my life, but I am afraid. Story 28. My husband is pressuring me for citizenship after he has abused me physically, mentally, and emotionally, along with his family. I am away from them. It is difficult to tell him no. It is hard to realize how many things couples do together that we never did, including eating together at a table. Story 29. I am losing my childhood home and trying to help my parents fight it, but it is not looking too good. We have 2 months to fight this. Story 30. I am trying to accept that I am good enough and can support and take care of my family. I have had a tough time for quite a while, but things have changed, and we can live comfortably now. However, my overwhelming guilt of failure has remained. Story 31. I'm losing my mother to old age. I know we all go through it and it's inevitable. She's ready, but how do I navigate this life without her? Story 32. My situation pales in comparison to many people's here, but I found out my fiancé of almost 5 years was having an emotional affair with one of her good male friends, one that she wanted me to meet. So I respectfully asked her to pack up and leave. It's pretty overwhelming that essentially 5 years of my life have been nothing but a waste of time. However, I am also looking forward to healing and moving on from it. Story 33. I would say it's pretty safe to say that the overwhelming experience we are going through right now is just life and trying to survive. It is a crazy time we live in, filled with uncertainty. Story 34. The weight of life is crushing me. I don't see any reason to go on, to be honest. Someone who promised to stay in my life and be there when I needed to talk is now treating me poorly. I don't have anyone else. Why are people so unkind? Story 35. Struggling with feelings of hopelessness about improving my life. Since my mother passed away in April 2018, my situation has worsened. I was evicted from my family home by my father's attorney. I had to rehome my cats and dog and spent 11 months living in a hotel before being moved to a community campus for individuals with mental disabilities. Although I do not struggle with a mental disability, my quietness and tendency to avoid public situations have led others to perceive me as mentally challenged due to the trauma and abuse I have experienced over the years. I have suffered from back pain since an injury in high school. I am attempting to write a young adult book series titled The Meteor Chronicles, about junior high students who gain superpowers from meteorites that are actually aliens, and they communicate with a lot of sass. Additionally, I am an avid collector of retro video games and accessories. I dream of having them displayed in a large basement game room with plenty of shelves. But here I am at 43 years old, overweight, and surviving on disability benefits that may soon be cut. I struggle with the belief that I have the time to accomplish anything. I also doubt that my book, which features several diverse characters and LGBTQ themes, will gain popularity in America, where it is more likely to be banned or burned. This situation is overwhelming, especially considering the mental abuse I endured from my father, which contributed to my mother's severe depression. She did not even attempt to save herself when she developed a rare blood infection following knee replacement surgery. Story 36. I am slowly realizing that my girlfriend of 1 year is a narcissist and that I am in a trauma bond with her. I know this relationship won't last because she doesn't truly love me. I just don't have the courage to end it yet because I feel lonely and clearly lack self-respect. Story 37. My mom is a narcissistic alcoholic. I only recently discovered her drinking problem because she attempted to take her own life. She stopped eating and didn't move for days. I found her on the brink of death. The doctor said they didn't understand how she was still alive when she arrived, and fortunately, there are no lasting effects. I sometimes wish she had not survived. The only reason I continue to care for her is because my late father requested it before his passing. Additionally, I have experienced 4 miscarriages since December 2023, and we are finally 1 month away from expecting baby number 3. There is a lot going on. Story 38. Multiple life changes at once. I am moving out on my own with my partner and starting my first career. I have to leave the only job I truly love. I have had to pick up my life and move before, but it has always been with my family. It is really scary to grow up. Story 39. My son unexpectedly had a nasogastric tube placed at 3 months old, and had a simple surgery scheduled to correct his esophagus. He underwent genetic testing, and we discovered he has a genetic heart disease that can lead to heart failure and sudden death. He is now 7 months old, and we are still collaborating with doctors to perform a basic surgery because he cannot have general anesthesia due to his heart condition. This situation is incredibly difficult and frustrating, especially because I initially believed I had a healthy, normal baby. Story 40. This is not as heavy as the others, but I am losing my dad to the Trump administration. He fully believes that the election was stolen and that everything they are doing is for the greater good. It is becoming increasingly difficult for me to see the good in him when he is supporting a movement founded in hate. Story 41. About 5 years ago, I discovered that I was born with a form of kidney disease. I started home peritoneal dialysis last year, and dealing with the need to keep everything in my bedroom sterile has been quite challenging. The most frustrating part has been trying to get on a transplant list. So far, I have been rejected by 6 medical centers because my employer-provided insurance is not accepted by any of them. My doctor suggests I try to get Medicaid, as people with end-stage kidney disease are currently eligible for it. However, the current administration is making significant cuts to social services, and I am uncertain whether Medicaid will still be an option soon. Several Social Security and Medicaid offices have already been closed in my area due to these issues. Story 42. After being single, reflecting on myself, and working on being a better person, he told me he is playing me like a game. This explains a lot, but I wish it didn't. I am mainly upset with myself because I did trust him, and now I know I shouldn't have. Story 43. My grandmother has died. Her funeral is on Friday. I am sad, of course, but also relieved. She had been very ill for the last 2 years and had almost died a couple of times. I will miss her, but I am not overly upset by her death. Perhaps the grief will come later. At the same time, my sister announced that she is pregnant with her 3rd child. The baby is due to be born in the month that my grandmother would have had her birthday. I don't know how to feel. My sister is already overwhelmed with her 2 children, and she doesn't have her husband's support. We can help her, but we also have our limits. Story 44. I am frustrated with my love life and the dating scene as a tall high school girl in a developing country. Additionally, I am trying to balance schoolwork with my personal life, and I haven't made any meaningful connections in my new town, which is making me feel lonely. Story 45. I have been dealing with gender dysphoria for a few years while being in the closet. I tried to come out to my partner, but they rejected that, so I went back into hiding to keep them. Their true self is now revealed, and I am trying to figure out how to end my 6-year relationship. Story 46. Family breakup. I recently learned how badly they are not my safe space. There has been an incredible amount of lying and manipulation. Story 47. My life feels completely out of control. Ever since I finished high school, I felt directionless. Every opportunity one have to prove myself, I somehow end up ruining it. It's like I'm stuck in a loop I can't escape. My parents are disappointed in me, and honestly, I don't blame them. I keep trying, but nothing seems to work out. I feel like I'm falling behind while everyone else is moving forward. It's exhausting mentally and emotionally. I don't even know where to begin to fix things anymore. Story 48. 3 weeks left and 8 weeks behind on a 12-week project. Considering divorce on my end. That was an interesting conversation last night. The house is a mess. I never use my gym membership that I pay for. Story 49. I'm experiencing a sense of overwhelming stress that keeps intensifying. The recent challenges I have faced include the COVID-19 pandemic, the passing of my father due to COVID-19, being laid off and subsequently finding a new job, struggling in my relationship and working on rebuilding it, experiencing another layoff in January, and dealing with financial difficulties from being unemployed for 4 months. Additionally, my wife requires an urgent surgery, and there are threats to cut Medicaid, which we depend on for her procedure. Meanwhile, I am struggling to find a job, as it seems there are very few opportunities available. Story 50. When people start dying, we begin visiting relatives. Traveling is enjoyable when you can afford it. Otherwise, it can lead to difficulties in managing debt for the following year. Story 51. Since 2020, my healthcare career has established itself as no longer worthwhile in my mind, and as a result, I hardly pursue it anymore. I have been looking for a way out, but the path I planned seems to be getting replaced by artificial intelligence. I am uncertain about where to go from here. I don't think I have ever had a life goal become obsolete before. Story 52. My husband has been working overseas for 2 years. I am trying to take care of my 4-year-old, go to work, and manage life in general. I often feel overwhelmed. Story 53. Separated but hopeful for reconciliation. We both became toxic for each other because we neglected our own needs while trying to care for one another. I started therapy, but it is slow in the beginning, like everything else. Story 54. My grandpa has Alzheimer's, and my grandma is having surgery next week. I've moved in with them to help. I have little experience with the disease and navigating the healthcare system. I'm struggling with the transition of responsibilities. I don't want to overstep, but they aren't able to manage as well as before, and my grandma is having difficulties coming to terms with her husband's condition. As it progresses, we will most likely have to look into a memory care facility, and that process is overwhelming. It's a strange shift in our positions in the family. I have to be the adult now. Story 55. A week into starting my new job, I suffered an injury that has left me bedbound for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Unemployed again. Story 56. It's very traumatizing. I'm afraid to push when I go to the bathroom, and I'm afraid to cough hard. But was it worth it? Absolutely. It was causing a blockage and making me retain water severely. My feet were becoming weaker. I'm not sure how or why, but I was losing the ability to walk. I mention this because my walking problems and ankles slowly dislocating are going away. I didn't even know that was possible. I will never take my feet for granted again. I needed a walker and I'm 40. I'm so happy that I did it for sure. Story 57. Anxiety and panic attacks can vary in severity. For the past couple of months, I have left my house only twice. I hide when someone knocks on the door if I am not expecting anyone. For anything I cannot have delivered, I ask one of my brothers to pick it up for me. It is very frustrating. Even on days when I feel okay, I struggle to go past my garden gate. I panic and retreat back inside. I dislike this situation. Story 58. Moving. I'm leaving my brother's basement and moving in with my boyfriend. The reason it's overwhelming is that nowhere feels like home quite yet, and I haven't been able to fully relax in a space of my own. Story 59. I was in an abusive relationship for over a decade and didn't realize it until halfway through. Abuse doesn't always look like abuse. It can also be manipulation, financial abuse, and emotional abuse. I knew things were bad, but I felt trapped financially and had a child. Then I discovered even worse things about him and had no choice but to leave for my child's sake. I called child services and the police, but they protected him and shamed me. My child told them things, but they refused to believe her because she is so young. The investigation consisted of simply asking him if he did it. He got away with everything, and I'm losing absolutely everything I have. I'm honestly on the verge of being homeless. It's that bad. Before all of this happened, I was hit by a train, and it took several years before I received any compensation. I tried my best to support my family with that money by buying a house, furniture, appliances, and a car. He essentially scammed me, abused me, took all my money, and ruined me. I never got to use the money for myself as intended. I have a few missing bottom teeth on the side of my face where the train hit my car, which led to the top teeth coming down into that space and causing my face to droop. I'm on disability and have no other source of income. Where I live, they do not provide enough to live on, and many landlords refuse to rent to people on disability. I'm about to lose my house, and it's almost my child's birthday too. It's one of those lives that feels like a serious train wreck. I've already sold nearly everything I own and have nothing left to sell. I've tried to keep the house on my own for a year, but have gone deeply into debt to do so. I've lost nearly 100 pounds over the last year and a half, and honestly, half of that is because I simply can't afford to eat. I was barely able to pay for my cat's seizure medication this month. My ex was supposed to help pay for all his vet visits when we were together, but that was another form of financial abuse against me. I constantly drained money doing payment plans for the veterinarians while he never contributed anything. The car I bought, which was supposed to be reliable, is falling apart after just a few years. The dealership refuses to return my calls and emails and is lying about the work they are doing. There are numerous recalls warning that my car could catch fire, so I keep several fire extinguishers in it. All I wanted was a safe car for me and my child. I can't afford to fight them or pay for anything to fix the car. I've experienced constant anemia due to an ectopic pregnancy that burst my tube and nearly killed me, making it difficult to physically do things, and I suffer from constant brain fog. I also have gastrointestinal issues from trying to take iron pills. I was not even supposed to be pregnant, and my ex knew this. I had come off birth control to help with my depression, and he was supposed to wear condoms but refused. I even bought him a pack for Christmas. Of course, he waited until a night when it was the neighbor's birthday and I had a few drinks, which is rare for me. I unexpectedly became pregnant, it was ectopic, and I almost died because I have a high pain tolerance from the chronic pain caused by the car accident. In short, I'm broke, my body and brain are falling apart, and I'm facing homelessness. My ex is a reprehensible person who got away with every form of abuse while I was shamed for trying to protect my child. I apologize for the lengthy story. I felt the need to share it. Thank you to anyone who took the time to read this. Story 60. Taking care of multiple sick relatives while working 40 hours a week and caring for my daughter leaves me feeling like I have no time for myself. Story 61. I am worried about when I will be able to eat again. I do freelance work and I am struggling to find jobs at the moment. I have tried applying for positions, even as a waiter, but have not had any luck so far, which is overwhelming. Story 62. Working from April 21st to May 16th without a break. Our software is running on production servers and everyone is overwhelmed, not sleeping, and working irregular hours. I hope things improve quickly as we resolve the issues. I can't stop waking up in the middle of the night due to work stress. Story 63. I shed a lot of toxic people all at once. 2 of my closest friends who were treating me poorly, my situationship of 3 years who was leading me on, and I finally cut ties with my abusive father. I also switched to day shifts after working nights for 5 years. Life is extremely uncomfortable and lonely right now. Story 64. Grief over regrets for mistakes I have made over the past 25 years and the realization that I will be alone forever. Story 65. Confronting difficult issues in marriage counseling about myself and their impact on my partner is challenging. It's tough to acknowledge how mental health concerns affect our relationship. Becoming self-aware is uncomfortable, and then I find myself constantly ruminating on it. Story 66. For anyone who didn't know, I had twin sisters. One was murdered a long time ago by her friend's boyfriend. His name was Gavin. What's worse is that, because I am from the UK, life sentences aren't much, so this guy is probably free now. For a long time, I wanted to hunt him down with my brother. I'm not capable of killing unless I had no other choice, but I would make an exception in his case. I held on to that feeling for a long time. It was the first case in the UK for a conviction without a body. We couldn't even send her off because they wrapped her in a rug and dumped her in garbage that went to incinerators. She was strangled to death, so yes, my past is littered with tragedy. Her name was Herjit. May her soul rest in peace. She was 2 years younger than me. I am 48 now. It is what it is. Story 67. I got blocked by the girl I was ready to risk everything for, without her telling me the reason. It's been almost half a month now. Story 68. As an extreme effort to lose weight and get my life in order, I returned to sports after leaving my last company. I did extremely well for about 5 months until I broke my ankle last month. I do not know if I will be able to return to the sport I loved so much. While my weight has not ballooned since the ankle break, it is increasing a little. I have at least 3 more weeks in the cast, but it feels like I have lost a lot. I had a job interview, my first in over 5 months, that I had to skip due to being in the hospital. I lost 90% of my social life. Almost all my spare time was dedicated to sports or activities outside the house. I would spend at least half my waking hours doing anything I could to be out of the house. Now I am unable to move and am experiencing a lot of pain, even with painkillers. I have another job interview coming up, so I am hoping for the best, but I am not very hopeful. Story 69. I am struggling to find a new job. Despite my applications and recommendations, I have not had any success. It has been 2 years. Story 70. Agoraphobia following a domestic violence and stalking relationship, which ended over a year and a half ago, has left me feeling very unsafe in the world. I lost my job due to it a year ago, and I am now just trying to function at the most basic level. Story 71. I finally admitted to myself this week that I need to leave my husband. I should have left him 6 months ago when I found out he was messaging men online for our entire 6-year marriage. I have put in so much effort to save our relationship, but ultimately, I can't settle for him. Everyone loves us together, and our families get along wonderfully. I can't imagine my life without him. I was so happy. Now I'm lost. Story 72. I was talking to a guy for about a month, all day, every day, and on the phone several times a week. I really connected with him and thought he actually liked me. We had so much in common, and I was starting to like him. I hardly ever like anyone, but then he just ghosted me an hour before we were supposed to meet for the first time after rescheduling twice due to conflicts. He claimed to be too busy and didn't want to lead me on, suggesting we could talk again later when his schedule was less hectic. Then he blocked me on everything. Couldn't even respond. He said it was because he was busy, and I know he was. He had work and sports commitments, but I can't help but feel like he has someone else and didn't want to tell me. I haven't attempted to date in almost 9 years because I've always been cheated on or cast aside for someone else. I've never been chosen or good enough for anyone and have never been the first choice. This just reinforced that feeling. Every time I connect with someone, they choose someone else. Story 73. I'm trying to completely rebuild my life after years of addiction and depression. I had been living in my car for quite a while, but I recently got a camper and a small lot. They are hooking up the electricity today. I should be happy because it's progress, but I feel like I'm nowhere near where I need to be. The job I have now is not enough to barely survive on, but I have a criminal record and live in a dead-end town, so I just took what I could get for the time being. Wrapping my mind around how I could possibly get a better job and afford a real home to get my kids back feels incredibly overwhelming. Story 74. I am taking care of my mom who has stage 4 chronic obstructive pulmonary disease with very little help. There is a lot of community support for people with children, but there is hardly anything for those caring for aging parents. When I suggest to my mom that she check out a social gathering for people her age, she often responds that she does not want to hang out with older individuals. In reality, she is among them. Additionally, I do not drive and I have a severe anxiety disorder, so getting to and from various appointments in a rural area can be quite challenging. Story 75. My joints are deteriorating rapidly, as seen on the CT scans and ultrasound. The pain has become so intense that even a triple dose of painkillers isn't providing relief, and I constantly feel exhausted. I have been unable to obtain a diagnosis for 2 years, and I don't think I can manage it any longer. Story 76. I had a medical abortion over a week ago and can't tell the guy who it would have been. Now I have a fever, vomiting, and dizziness, so I am in urgent care. Story 77. I constantly experience gastrointestinal issues with no answers, which makes me anxious all the time. I also have nerve problems in my teeth, again with no explanation. I have 3 babies at home while my husband works continuously, so I have no help. Recently, I injured my neck while sleeping, which has resulted in constant neck and nerve pain. I am so frustrated that I cannot even express it. Story 78. I am trying to sell my house after having a buyer's contract fall through twice due to financing issues. Now, for months later, the housing market in my area has cooled off significantly, resulting in low offers. I do not have enough equity to accept these offers and walk away. Story 79. I lost my mom last year, and she was my best friend. She was 60 when she was diagnosed with early breast cancer and required a mastectomy. I am only 36 years old. My coworkers sometimes make me feel bad about having to take leave for surgery since I am a registered nurse. Lowe's installed sliding doors in my house, and now they are leaking. I have been trying to deal with insurance regarding this issue. My boyfriend tends to avoid emotional intimacy, and we are struggling to get on the same page for support during this difficult time. We both own homes, and it would be much easier to live together and generate income by renting out the other property, especially since I will be on leave for a while. Lastly, my friends do not really understand my boyfriend and his behavior toward me, as I do not speak to them about my relationship. As a result, some of them have expressed that I cannot bring him around, so I have decided to cut ties with them. Story 80. Starting a career in nursing can be overwhelming. It often feels like I have to manage numerous responsibilities while dealing with challenging patients and difficult management situations. This has made me question my career choice frequently in recent days. Story 81. I gave up on being a fiction writer very young when everyone around me told me it was impossible. I have used cannabis for the last decade to dull the pain. Now I realize that what those people meant was that they couldn't be fiction writers, not me. I do impossible things all the time, but I feel so behind. I stopped reading, stopped learning, and just floated on cannabis to make everything okay. I quit this week and bought some writing books, but I still feel behind. I'm listening to writing podcasts that are filled with people in their 20s who went to school for this. At 38, if my dream was impossible before, it seems unbearably impossible now. But I have to try. I can't live with the regret of other people's insecurities. As my husband often reminds me, I also lost my 30s to cancer. I probably could have been published by now if I hadn't been so sick for the last decade. Story 82. Burnout. I just finished a semester of college while working full-time, and I am exhausted from the stress and workload. I am falling behind in my regular job and feel compelled to keep pushing myself. My 1 week of vacation each year is coming up in June, and I am trying to hold on until then. Story 83. I met my ex at a friend's birthday for the first time in 5 months. I still love him with my whole heart. He is almost in a new relationship, but he still looked at me with the same gaze as when we were together. We talked for an hour, catching up. He said he is still attracted to me, misses me, and loves me. Before we left, we hugged each other. It lasted a minute, and he hugged me tighter and tighter. Our friend even messaged me afterward and asked if I noticed how he looked at me during the evening. I want to try again, but at the same time, he is meeting another girl. Story 84. My stepfather caused the accident that killed my mother. It was preventable. I have his power of attorney and basically handle all his caretaking. It is sometimes difficult not to feel resentful. Story 85. Trying to move into a bigger home, as our current one is small. Many employed business owners find it hard to qualify for a home above $600,000. It is a sad reality that this generation is facing. Story 86. I cannot even fathom your loss. I am truly sorry. To everyone else here, I wish for better days for all of you. We experienced a difficult time a year ago. Since then, I have been working hard to avoid going back. Depression is incredibly debilitating and remains an ongoing struggle for me. I definitely make the most of my good days. Peace to all of you. Story 87. I ended a 15-year marriage just over a month ago. I am trying to figure out whether I can financially take over the mortgage on my own or if I should sell, rent, and start my life from scratch with basically nothing. Story 88. 4 years ago, my dad died, which was painful and heartbreaking on its own. He owned a lot of property, including 2 businesses, many classic and performance cars, and a vacation home. My mother did not manage his estate after his passing. She had just lost the love of her life, so we did not push her and tried to move forward. I took over managing parts of the businesses, which, given the current state of the economy, is causing a great deal of stress. A year and a half after his death, we began to notice that my mom was not remembering things correctly. This led to a series of short hospital stays, as her memory issues caused her to mismanage vital medications that further affected her memory. Ultimately, she suffered a broken back, underwent surgery, and experienced a 2-month hospital stay due to aspiration pneumonia. requiring her to be placed on a ventilator. While we were in the hospital, they identified the issues with her memory. However, we learned there wasn't much left to address. As she had already lost too much, it was not dementia, although we initially thought it might be. My mom entered a rehabilitation facility, and when her Medicare coverage ran out, we had to transfer her to the facility's long-term care unit to treat her pressure wound, which cost about $15,000 a month. We depleted one of her retirement plans to keep her there until she was well enough to move into an assisted living situation earlier this year. We are currently in the process of liquidating both my dad's and mom's estates to help make her eligible for Medicaid in 5 years. The selling of their possessions is exhausting and heartbreaking, and I feel like the living embodiment of the phrase, "I'm tired of this, Grandpa. That's too damn bad." From Holes. Story 89. I am in a phase where I know what my condition is, but my doctor isn't the right one to make the diagnosis. My chronic illness has been getting worse, and I am terrified of what happens next. I have reached the limit of days I can miss at work, and I constantly worry that my wife is pretending I am doing better than I am. It would cause significant harm if I were to be without a job or a diagnosis that would enable me to be legally considered disabled. Furthermore, being declared legally disabled in the current political climate in the United States is daunting. Story 90. The woman I love falls for manipulation from an abuser. It is difficult to watch how she fights for someone who neglected her, belittled her, broke her spirit, and exploits her vulnerabilities. Story 91. I have a strong genetic predisposition to several different cancers. I had a rare skin cancer removed that often occurs alongside an internal cancer. Now I'm waiting for all of my scans and screenings to determine if there is something going on internally. The waiting and uncertainty are excruciating. On the positive side, I have been able to secure appointments fairly quickly after receiving my diagnosis. However, this is something I truly wish I had known years ago. Story 92. I was on disability for several months, and right after returning to work, I was laid off. I also need health insurance to see my doctors and get my medication, but the job market is very poor right now. Story 93. I have significant social anxiety issues. Right now, I'm trying to finally get my driver's license. I enjoy practicing every time I can. I usually ask a good friend to help me. It's overwhelming in many ways. I feel ready to take the next step, to do the final test, but part of me breaks down when I think about the social aspects I'll have to deal with. I'm a little scared about setting up appointments for the test and everything. In the past, during moments like this, I've usually had someone to help me through it. It's hard to ask for help, especially when it's something so mundane that people do all the time. An ex-partner got me started on this whole adventure of driving. She helped me get the initial instructional permit. Unfortunately, that experience was difficult. I'm very thankful for my friend who helps me practice, but I can't rely on him to support me through the social challenges I struggle with the most. I'm stressed and worried I won't have the strength to overcome the obstacles my mind creates. Compared to some of the other challenges people face, I don't feel too bad about my own troubles. It's overwhelming, but I consider it on the good side of the divide. I'm sorry to hear about your own struggles. I lost my sister to violence when I was a teenager, and I'm not sure the pain ever fully goes away. I started doing art because my sister was an artist, so every significant moment I have reminds me of those memories. I hope she would be proud of me. Story 94. Delayed onset post-traumatic stress disorder from childhood sexual abuse. This is probably easier than I thought it would be, but it is still difficult. I frequently experience crippling paranoia and random bouts of sadness. I want to forgive to uphold my values, but it feels forced. I am still scared and unsure if I am ready to let go of resentment. Story 95. I am absolutely broke. I have sold everything I bought over the past 10 years. There is nothing left to sell. I am hungry most days. Additionally, I owe $600 to my country's tax agency. Story 96. Fleeing my abuser and the person I thought was the love of my life, who stole all of my information and posted me on worldwide sex trafficking sites. Because I am not in my 20s or 30s, although I look like I am, and I have no children, I qualify for nothing. Story 97. First, I'm sorry to hear about your sister. You and your family are in my thoughts. A coworker and I became close and called each other best friends. However, that friendship has now ended, and it has become uncomfortable to work together. We also share friends, which makes them feel stuck in the middle. I know it may seem petty, but the situation is so tense that I'm thinking about changing jobs. Story 98. I am not happy. I always pictured myself as someone who would do what they like when I grow up. But I am not. That feeling is terrible. Story 99. I dealt with a difficult breakup and the loss of mutual friends 16 months ago. My ex was very manipulative. I started therapy and, with much difficulty, cut off contact with her. I tried to find new queer friends and developed a crush on another queer colleague. But after months of friendship, she rejected me without explanation and disrespected me in front of our colleagues. Subsequently, she became pregnant, and I am grappling with feelings of envy and inadequacy in my personal life. My family and I are not close, and I am still trying to find people I connect with. Being in my 30s, I feel a new type of loneliness and anxiety about my life. I just want to be seen and feel important to someone. Story 100. My father passed away a week ago from cancer. We learned about his diagnosis 3 weeks prior. In that time, he went from being completely fine to dying. My father was not a good person. He may have loved me, but I am unsure because he subjected me to verbal abuse and controlling behavior. Now, at the age of 25, I am chronically ill and without any friends, as he never allowed me to go anywhere or socialize. I do not know if I miss him, and I feel conflicted about feeling relief. I feel guilt for not being sadder. I never wanted him to die this way. I expected to find him asleep one day because he was 75 years old. I never imagined losing him so suddenly. I find myself confused and uncertain about how to feel or what to do. I have lost a parent. No matter how he was, I was never hungry, and I had a roof over my head. The chance of having a proper father is now gone. I never truly had him, and now I will never have him, which exacerbates my issues. To make things worse, my brother, whom I resent due to past conflicts when we were children, is becoming more abusive following our father's death. Today, he called me a derogatory name for confronting him about his drinking and sleeping on the bathroom floor. I was shocked and reacted by hitting him, which escalated into a fight that our mother had to break up. I still have a headache from where he struck me. While I feel relief that my father is gone and hope he has found peace, despite the impact of his actions, I am left living with disabilities in a home that has caused me so much pain, surrounded by a mother who never learned how to love and a brother who has become an enemy instead of a guardian. Feels like hell. This is just a vent. I am tired. Story 101. I have no family nearby, and my friends live in another state because I moved away. I struggle with back problems and poor health. I am trying to lose weight, but it is challenging. I have difficult roommates who make me miserable when I come home. Some days, like today, I finish work and sit in my car alone for hours because the thought of going home makes me want to cry. These may seem like small problems, but when I consider everything together, I feel depressed most days. Story 102. I broke up with my ex of 5 years. The relationship was on and off, very emotionally and mentally abusive. Every time he just goes on with his life as if I never existed, sleeps with other girls, and goes out all the time without a care. Meanwhile, I am here trying to pick up the pieces and find a way to heal, not just from this but from childhood traumas I have not faced. I often feel like I'm an adult. I should have my life together by now. I shouldn't be feeling like this. On top of that, I am unemployed because he got me fired and I have no friends. I cut my family off because they are toxic and will never change. My sister and her daughter have an obsession with men I have been with, and they have even tried to be with my children's father. My mother has never told me she loves me and has shown me no affection. My father used to abuse her and cheat on her. Throughout my life, he has constantly told us he is dying and lies about having cancer. I have a brother but do not speak to him because I caught his partner stealing money from me. At 32, I honestly don't even know what I want to do with my life. So that's the short version. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.